Sometime last year, I saw David Ryan Harris supporting Scary Pockets. It was a really great gig. David is a great singer. He's a great guitar player. He had this one tone going on though that I really couldn't put my finger on. It was like this freezing, reverby pad type thing that I just hadn't heard before. Later on, from the Rig Rundown Premier Guitar I found out that that pedal was the Cooper Effects Outward, a dynamic sampler pedal that David was using to create flowing ambient pads underneath his playing. Just as quickly as I found out what the pedal was, I found out that the pedal was no longer available, unfortunately. That is where the Chase Bliss Onward comes in. It's not a V2 or a V3 of the Outward, it's more like the next chapter in a way. It's a focusing on what was great about the Outward and kind of putting that Chase Bliss sparkle on it as well. The Onward is a dual channel dynamic sampler that moves with, adapts with, and sustains your playing to create vast musical scapes. We'll discover these as we go on, but first, here is a little jam track that I made with the Onward. The Onward is on every single guitar track, believe it or not, and I think it turned out pretty well. If you like the video so far, please go and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Seriously, like, I still think 90% of people who regularly click on my videos are not subscribed to the channel. So if you're one of those 90%, please go and subscribe. That would be amazing. So as I mentioned, every single guitar track on that little song I made had the Onward on, which was actually a bit of a challenge because normally with Chase Bliss pedals, I would put the tone on maybe 1 or 2 tracks as like an underlying thing or a bit more of a feature. I set the challenge of putting the Onward on every single guitar track, and yeah, maybe it's a little bit of an assault on the sensors, but it worked, I think. So as I mentioned, the Onward is a dual channel dynamic sampler that can freeze and fluidly change with your playing. So that was the freeze channel, the right channel. The other channel is the glitch channel, freeze's weirder sibling. Both channels share the same set of features and controls, but we'll start by exploring the freeze channel because it's a little easier to get your head around. Set like this, the freeze channel will infinitely sustain your playing exactly forever. That's what infinite means. But this being a Chase Bliss pedal, you can start to mess with your sample and your sustain from there. With the octave knob, we can blend in an upper octave to the right of the knob sweep, and to the left we can blend in a lower octave. The texture knob below that is also a two-sided control. To the right we introduce this analog EQ type drive, and then to the left is more of a digital breakup with some aliasing and some bit crushing. I kind of see this as like, to the right it's like the gen loss, and to the left it's like lossy. Below that we have a 3-way switch which controls our modulation. To the right we have a really beautiful chorus that I leave on pretty much all the time. To the left we have a vibrato, and then in the middle no modulation whatsoever. This error knob here on the left starts to introduce different kinds of malfunction to the sample, from timing fluctuations, playback glitches and stutters, and you can change all those different types of malfunctions and degradation basically with the switch below. The sustain knob and fade switch here in the middle make up our shape section, allowing us to control how long Onward sustains for and also how quickly it kind of grabs on to something new that you feed into it. This allows you to create Eno-like swells or some more delay type sounds as well. Mixer at the top in the middle sets the balance between our wet and dry signals, and the size knob is used more with the glitch channel, so we'll get onto that next. Okay, so let's move on to the glitch channel. If the freeze channel infinitely sustains, the glitch channel repeats. It kind of repeats little chunks of audio that are much more rhythmical than the freeze channel and obviously more glitchy. In my personal experience, the glitch channel kind of plays a bit more of a supporting role to the freeze channel. It's not very often that I use the glitch channel on its own. What I really love to do is freezing a chord or something with the freeze channel, obviously, and then locking it in, and then playing with the glitch channel on top of that locked in sample. The size knob adjusts how big those little chunks of audio are and kind of changes the rhythmical quality of the glitch channel. But other than that, you can manipulate the glitch channel in completely the same ways as you can the freeze channel. Usually I tend to gloss over all the dip switches on Chase Bliss pedals because personally I get everything I want from the face controls, but I felt really comfortable exploring the dip switches on Onward more so than any other pedal. And you can really customize your experience using these dip switches. So here are a few that I think you should mess around with. Firstly, the latch dip switch is an absolute must. It means that you can lock in a sample so it sustains and doesn't react to your playing without having to hold the foot switch down. So just do it, it'll make your life so much easier. The other two dip switches that I've really been enjoying change the way how the glitch channel works. Firstly, we have a reverse dip switch, does what it says on the tin. It reverses everything in the glitch channel. The other one is a half speed dip switch. And again, that halves the speed of the glitch channel. But not only that, it also halves the record quality. So it introduces a bit more of a lo-fi tone. Finally, I want to talk about using Onward with an expression pedal because I think this unlocks a whole new batch of possibilities. I've got the Chase Bliss EXP plugged into the Onward for most of this demo, allowing me to manipulate any of the Onward's controls on the fly. With none of the dip switches engaged on the back, you have real-time control over the mix of Onward, which I personally think is incredibly useful because if there's anything about Onward that's a little hard to kind of grasp is the dynamics of Onward, because sometimes it can grab something really loud or sometimes something really quiet. So having real-time control over that is really useful. One other fun example that I've been enjoying is manipulating the octave knob with EXP. This allows me to bring in lower or upper octaves as I please. Side note as well, because EXP has two outputs, I've got one plugged into Onward and then the other plugged into my Mood Mark II, giving me control over, I think I'm controlling the time knob on the wet channel. Combining the two and sweeping and expressing the two, I guess, get some really cool tones that I've been enjoying a lot. Check it out. I'll be honest, it's always a bit of a challenge making a video on a Chase Bliss pedal because there's so much to cover and they're also so open to interpretation. However, it is a challenge that I really love, and I hope you've all enjoyed my interpretation of Onward. No doubt there are other demoers out there who may have interpreted Onward differently to me, and no doubt when you get your hands on an Onward, you may interpret it and approach it differently to me. And in my opinion, that's kind of the beauty of it.